Hi guys, welcome back to the Mighty Blues. It is the instant match reaction. Wolves 3, Everton 0. I'm going to keep this one quite short and sweet because firstly, I've got an absolutely banging headache and feel absolutely terrible. But secondly, that was probably the worst performance of the season from this Everton side. We've sat down a couple of times over the last week or so and spoken about Everton losing games of football. However, we've spoken about positives. We've spoken about how we probably deserved more from the Spurs game. We've spoken about how we were excellent in the first half against Manchester City and just run out of steam. Well, there's not really many positives to take from this one today. We were absolutely horrendous from the first minute until the last minute. Wolves had 2 goals in the back of the net that obviously were disallowed for offsides. They were offside, but it just shows you how poor Everton were today. Wolves had the ball in the back of that net 5 times today, and I'm not sure we even had a single shot on target. We were dreadful. We were absolutely dreadful, and there's no excusing it. There's no getting around it. There's no, finding other excuses to give reason as to why we lost that game today. We were absolutely awful. For me, it's on the manager. Listen, I have given Sean Dyche a lot of credit of late. I've spoken a number of times about how I felt I was wrong about Sean Dyche and how Sean Dyche has proven me wrong over the last month or so with some huge performances and some huge results. And even in the games in which we haven't won and we haven't particularly got a good result in, we've still put a performance in that we can be proud of and we can come away from sort of looking and thinking, do you know what, we can take something from that. Today, that wasn't the case for me. The manager got it wrong. That is all on the manager today. Absolutely 100%. The setup, the system, the players on the pitch, nobody looked like they knew what they were doing. It was quite reminiscent of watching an Everton performance under Frank Lampard or under Rafael Benitez, where players were just sort of walking around, not quite knowing what they're doing. I'm not sure why the manager decided to go with a 5 at the back. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that the entire reason we lost this game today was because Michael Keane played. Michael Keane was terrible today, but Michael Keane is Michael Keane. And as we said after the Burnley game, he was absolutely incredible. He put a great performance in. He should be proud of himself, but that doesn't mean that he should start for Everton week in, week out from this point on. But it's not Michael Keane's fault, strictly. The system just didn't work, and you could see it wasn't working from the opening 5 minutes. And the fact that we went in at half time, only 1 goal down, and still very much in the game was, for me, a positive in itself, because we could have gone in 2 or 3-0 down at half time and the game would have been completely over and done with. But we weren't. We were only 1-0 down. We were still in the game, and it presented itself as an opportunity for Dyche to make a couple of changes, change the system completely, go back to a 4 at the back, and maybe go out there in the second half and put some pressure on and try and get something. But he didn't. He waited until we were 2-0 down, at which point it was absolute game over, and then 3-0 down before he made any real changes and changed the system. And, there was absolutely no surprise that, don't get me wrong, I don't think there was at any point in this game where Everton were the better side today, or any point in this game where Everton even looked half decent, but we did look better when we went to a 4 at the back than what we did with a 5 at the back. And I'm just not sure why he decided to go with that today. The only reason I can think is, well, A, because we were away from home, and B, because we've got a couple of injuries in the squad. And I think that performance was quite telling as to where we actually are as a football club. We've obviously had a number of really, really positive results of late and really positive performances, and we've all been absolutely buzzing and absolutely bouncing, but I've always felt like that wouldn't last, because, we're not Manchester City, we're not Barcelona in 2008, we're not, some of the great, we're not Brazil from the early 2000s. It was always going to come to a point where we lost a game of football, and it was about how we reacted to that defeat. And as I said, we had 4 incredibly good wins on the spin. We lost in the cup, which was unfortunate. We then lost to Tottenham, again another unfortunate result. We lost to City. We all said, you know what, maybe we just ran out of steam. Maybe we just didn't have enough quality to compete with the best team in the world. No big fallout there. But I think today we saw that without a couple of key players that are out injured at the moment, specifically Abdoulaye Doucouré, who for me is once again, this performance has shown why Abdoulaye Doucouré is not only Everton's best player, but he's Everton's most important player as well. He was out for a period last season as well, and I don't think we won a single game during that period. We were in really, really good form. I think Duke's got injured, was out for about 3 or 4 games. We lost all of them. We come back and we started to do well again, and then he scored on the final game of the season to keep us up, and it's absolutely no surprise that we're in that same situation again. I mean, to think that some people were disappointed with him being given a new contract in the summer, for me is absolutely mind-boggling, because once again we've shown that without Abdoulaye Doucouré in this team, without his influence, without his ability in front of goal, we look a shell of the side that we are when he is in it. And yeah, again, I think what we've seen today is a performance from a group of players who are tired, a group of players who are fatigued, and a group of players who probably are at the level. And the level is a mid-table side who have got an incredibly thin squad. And when that squad is taken apart by injuries or suspensions or whatever else, we see that actually this team struggles, and it struggles in games, and it struggles to put performances in, and it struggles to go away from home and, you know, get results. And I think that was exactly what was on show today. As I said, I don't think it's a case of the end of the world and we should all turn on the manager and everything's terrible and you know, we need somebody else in charge. I think it's a case of the manager got it wrong today. He's had a number of games of late where he's got it right, and we've come out and we've credited him for that. So you absolutely are allowed to sit here and criticise the manager when he gets it wrong. I don't think there was any need for a 5 at the back. I understand we've got injuries. I understand we were away from home. But, you know, I've watched Everton play a 5 at the back, you know, maybe 50, 60 times in my life, if not more. And I can count on one hand how many times I've seen it done well, and how many times Everton have been able to perform in a 5 at the back formation, more often than not. And today was exactly the same. When we adopt that formation and when we adopt that system, the players just don't seem to know what they're doing. I mean, go and look at James Tarkowski and Jared Brantwaite's performance today. They were absolutely all over the place. They didn't seem like they knew what they were doing or what they needed to do. James Garner was horrendous today. Onana wasn't much better. He was okay, Onana, but he wasn't much better. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was absolutely horrendous. He had no service whatsoever, and the service he did have, he wasted, as he has done numerous times of late. Jack Harrison was poor. Dwight McNeil was poor. The players just don't seem to understand what the manager is asking of them, and I don't think it's a case today of he only played 5 at the back to shoehorn Michael Keane in the team. I know some people may seem to think that the only reason we played that formation today was so that he could get his mate in the side. I don't think that's the case, but what I think is the case is we've just shown today why a 5 at the back formation at the moment for this team is just, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, and ultimately, like I said, I don't think it was all on Michael Keane today, but we've seen again that defence, that back line is absolutely fine. It doesn't need Michael Keane in there. It doesn't need an extra body in there. It doesn't require that. And I understand it might be because we haven't got enough midfielders, but there's other things you can do there. You could have put Danjuma on behind the striker as a number 10. You could have maybe put Dominic, Beto there, or had Beto and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. There was a number of different changes the manager could have made today. Andre Gomez, of course, without the need to play 5 at the back and confuse things so much, because that's what it was. That's what it was. You only have to watch the performance against Manchester City in the opening 45 minutes to see how calm we were, how collected we were, how comfortable we looked, how every single player knew what they were doing and seemed to know exactly what was expected of them. And yes, we ran out of steam in the second half and ultimately lost the game. But today, that was polar opposite. That was polar opposite to what we see, what we saw against Manchester City, and we lost that game. Never mind what we saw against Forest or Chelsea or Newcastle. It was polar opposite today, and that falls on the manager. It falls on the manager, the system, because it was wrong from the first minute. Arguably worse off and more frustrating is his decision to not make any changes at half time. I mean, I don't understand personally why he went with a 5 at the back to start with, but I understand the reasons that he may give, but I simply cannot fathom why there wasn't a change made at half time. not necessarily a change to the personnel, but a system change was absolutely needed. And that would have meant a change to the personnel because he'd have had to take one of those centre-halves off. I don't see what the manager watched in that opening 45 minutes that told him that this team and that team in that system were capable of going out in the second half and getting something out of the game. It just, I don't understand that personally. And as I said, I've credited Sean Dyche an awful lot recently, and I'm not afraid to come on here and criticise him. That decision for me, I don't understand. I'd love for somebody to ask him in the post-game press conference what he thought was going to happen in that second half and why he didn't make that change quicker than what he did. And I'm not saying we were any better when we went to 4 at the back, by the way, but it was game over at that point. It was absolutely game over, so it wasn't really going to get any better. But had he have made it at half-time when we were only 1-0 down with 45 minutes to go, who knows what the outcome would have been. Generally, I thought we just had a really, really poor day at the office today. I thought the manager got it wrong. I don't think the players were played particularly well. In fact, I don't think there was any of them that I can honestly sit here and said, you know, put a really good shift and a really good performance in. Michalenko, maybe the only one that I thought done quite well and probably escapes, you know, criticism, but everybody else was horrendous. Horrendous, individually horrendous. Dom, I mean, what do we do with Dom now? Surely Beto's got to be given an opportunity. I know Dom is great at the, you know, everything else he does and the hold-up play and the build-up play and this, that and the other, but the reality of the situation is he's a centre-forward. He's a striker, and I know he didn't get many opportunities today, and I know the one big one he did get, he was offside, but even had he have not been offside, you were never, ever, ever convinced he was going to put that in the back of the net. He's really struggling for confidence at the moment, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I think maybe a few weeks out the team might do him good to sort of reset and get himself back together and to move forward. But yeah, like I said, another defeat. This for me is much different. You know, as I said after the City game, I sort of woke up the day after and didn't really feel any anger or any frustration or any upset or any disappointment because I understood the situation. I understood we were great in the first half. I understood we ran out of steam in the second half. After Tottenham, again, a little bit disappointed, but I understood that this team picked themselves up, they battled and they deserved something out of that game. Today, we didn't deserve anything. We didn't deserve anything from the first minute to the last minute. It was one of the easiest 3 points Wolves will pick up all season. And I think that is down to a number of different things. The manager got it wrong. The manager's lack of proactiveness at half-time, I think, comes into play. The players themselves, I thought, were absolutely horrific today. And ultimately, the absence of our best and most influential player at the moment. And I think this happens typically in December for Everton. Is, you know, we play 3-4 times every week, and, you know, there's that much football being played, there's that many injuries that get picked up and suspensions and this, that and the other, that you really need a decent sized squad to be able to cope and to be able to deal with that. And when you've got a player as important as Abdoulaye Doucouré and as pivotal as Abdoulaye Doucouré, and you've got nobody else in the squad that is like him, and nobody else in the squad that can replicate what he does or replace what he does, when he gets injured, you are going to see the effects of it. And like I said, I think this team is a solid, hard-working, battling, mid-table side when everybody's fit, when everybody's firing. I think the manager is a solid, mid-table, decent manager, which is probably what we need at the moment, because we've come off the back of two or three really, really poor managers that, you know, didn't, or well, certainly two in Lampard and Benitez, who didn't understand how to you know, to get this side winning a game of football, never mind winning multiple on the bounce. So maybe that is what we need at the moment, and that's fine, but that's with everybody fit, everybody firing, you know, everything going well. And as we know, I don't think in the 25 years I've been on this planet, I don't think I've watched a season in which Everton have had a fully fit squad for the entirety of it, and we haven't had at least one or two huge players spend time on the, you know, on the sidelines through injuries or suspensions or whatever. And what we're seeing now is when this team is broken down because a certain player gets injured or a certain player has to go away on, you know, whether it be Ghana Gate to AFCON, or, you know, we have to change the system a little bit, we just can't cope. And today we showed exactly that. Yeah, not the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but definitely not a performance that we can take many positives from. Definitely not a performance that I'll be waking up tomorrow thinking, do you know what, I'm proud of these players today, because, yeah, that was really, really, really poor. Really poor. And they'll know that. They'll know that as well. And I suppose the important thing now is that we bounce back. We really could do with not playing next week against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, but we, you know, on one hand we want to be in the cup competitions, on one hand we want to win a trophy because we haven't won one for so long, so we can't really complain about playing those fixtures. But ideally, Everton need a break. Everton desperately need a break. These players need a break, the manager needs a break, and us as fans need a break, just to reset, calm everything down and go again. Because what we don't want to do is fuel a conversation of, well, were those 4 wins on the bounce just, was that a blip? That's what Sean Dyche's job is now, and these players have got to do, is they've got to ensure that those 4 wins on the spin against Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, and obviously Burnley, we're not a blip. What we need is the bad times, aka the moment we're in now. 3 defeats on the bounce in the Premier League, 4 defeats on the bounce in all competitions. We need that to be the blip. We need that to be the dip in form. We don't need the good times to have been, you know, a blip and a sort of spike in form, and now we're back to the norm. This can't be the norm. Otherwise, we will be in a relegation battle come the end of the season. I'm happy to accept that we were poor today. The system's changed. Injuries have killed us a little bit. Fatigue has killed us a little bit. Tiredness has killed us. But we need to go away now. I think there's an international break coming up. Really reset after that, and then come back out and pick up some huge points, because yeah, that was a opportunity gone by today, and not just an opportunity gone by in the sense of, oh, well, we missed a couple of chances, or, you know, we should have had the penalty or whatever. It was an opportunity to win a game of football that we absolutely felt a bit in, and we never ever looked like any chance of winning from the first minute into the last minute, and that is hugely disappointing. So there you go, all on the manager today for me. And I don't care if people love Sean Dyche, or if people are made up with Sean Dyche. I've given Sean Dyche an immense amount of credit over the last couple of months, and if you watch this channel, you'll know that. So I will sit here and say that is on him today, because it is absolutely on him 100%. It's not on individual players. It's not on Michael Keane. It's not on Amadou Onana. It's not on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And I think we need to be careful not to go down the route of just saying we lost today, so he's shite, he's useless. They were poor today, but everybody was poor. James Garner was horrendous today, and I'm not really seeing many people talk about that. Jack Harrison was horrific today, and I'm not seeing many people talk about that. Dwight McNeil, really poor today. So it was just a poor game, poor performance, poor system, poor selection by the manager. He got it wrong today, and the players weren't much better. Hopefully we can pick ourselves up and move on. There you go. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Play ratings will be up shortly. And yeah, big thanks for watching. We'll see you after.